another episode of Going All In, Get the Edge You Need to Succeed. I am Dr. Erin McKinley, and today we have another awesome spotlight session with Blair Brown from the UT Medical Branch MSDI based in Galveston, Texas. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
All right, before you go into talking about the program, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your journey to RD, and how you landed at UT Medical Branch.
All right, well, I am Blair Brown. I'm really excited to be talking with you all today. A little bit about me. Let's see, I am a native Texan, and I have been a dietitian for 10 years now. I actually completed my bachelor's and master's degree at Sam Houston State University, which is about 70 miles north of downtown Houston, maybe further than that. Swore I would never move back home, and lo and behold, I now work in Galveston, and I live right down the door from both of sets of parents. My mom and my in-laws live 10 doors down from me. So I became a clinical dietitian at UTMB. I had a job offer when I finished my MSDI program at Sam Houston State, started working as a clinical dietitian there. And within about a year and a half, 2 years, I transitioned to working in the solid organ transplant department. And that's where I stayed for about 7 years. So I did critical care and solid organ transplant. We did kidney, liver, heart, and lung transplant. And then most recently, I became the MSDI director in the Department of Nutrition and Metabolism in February of 2019. So I've been involved with the Department of Nutrition and Metabolism for quite some time, ever since we established the department in 2013, but officially came on as director and faculty in February of 19.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your program.
Right. So UTMB, we are a combined Master of Science and Dietetic Internship program. If I can get my slides to advance here. If you are not familiar with the University of Texas Medical Branch, we are home to the oldest medical school in Texas. We are established in 1891. The image behind me and at the top of the screen is Old Red, and that is the original medical school building on campus. We are part of the University of Texas system, and unlike a comprehensive university, we are an academic health science center. So we have a level 1 trauma center here on campus, as well as 4 schools: School of Medicine, School of Nursing, School of Health Professions, which is what our program falls under, and the Graduate School of Biomedical Sciences. So if you are not familiar with Texas geography, we are located about 50 miles south of Houston, Texas, right along the coast. We sit on an island, and this is Galveston, where the red star is. I've included a couple of pictures of around campus and the island itself. UTMB sits about 3 or 4 blocks from the beach. So it's really nice. The top left picture here is of our new state-of-the-art hospital called Jenny Seeley Hospital, and all of the patient rooms either view the ocean or Galveston Bay, so it's quite nice. So if you're looking for that island experience, Galveston might be the place for you. A couple other features about Galveston: we do have 4 hospital campuses. So the main one is on Galveston Island, and the other 3 are on the mainland. One in League City, Texas, one in Clear Lake, and the other is in Angleton. And we also are home to one of 2 national labs. One is located here on the island, and the other is located on the East Coast. So if you're looking for a university that has cutting edge research, the Galveston National Lab sits here in the middle of our campus. And that is the picture you're going to see in the bottom left corner. This is where they're doing all kinds of research on COVID-19, Ebola, you name it. It's being done there. We are a unique department, so we are made up of clinicians and researchers in the Department of Nutrition and Metabolism. So I've included the 6 main faculty here that we have in our department, starting with Dr. Blake Rasmussen. He's the picture on the top left, and he and Dr. Padden Jones, which is the picture right below him, and Dr. Elizabeth Lyon is the bottom middle. They are all NIH-funded researchers, so they focus on physical activity, muscle adaptation, and behavioral science research, mainly all around focusing around nutrition. And then myself, Dr. Chris Messenger at the top right, and Dr. Crystal Douglas, the bottom right, we are all registered dietitians and your main teaching faculty here in the department. So our program is 16 months, so 4 continuous semesters. So we do a spring DICUS match, so students will match in the springtime and then matriculate in the fall, usually late August, early September, and then finish the following December. Because it is a master's degree included with the dietetic internship, there are a total of 44 credit hours. 24 of those credit hours come from didactic coursework, and the other 20 come from supervised practice courses. We recently changed our degree plan to be a hybrid model. This worked out because we were doing this well before COVID. So it was nice, not nice that we had a global pandemic hit, but nice that we were kind of prepared to switch to be a hybrid model. So we meet in class on Mondays on Galveston, in the Galveston campus, and then the other work is done online, a little bit of synchronous and asynchronous work. And then Tuesday through Friday, students are out on supervised practice rotations during the 4 semesters. Another change we've recently done to our program is that our previous program concentration was clinical and translational research. And we changed that. We officially got the formal approval from Ascend in May of 2020 to be patient client-centered care. So for students who are interested in research and still looking for those opportunities, don't worry, because all of those opportunities are still here and available. Essentially was a name change on paper. We also found that sometimes students were hesitant to come to UTMB or apply to UTMB because maybe they hadn't been exposed to research or were a little scared of what research actually meant. But we found that whether you're doing research or inpatient care or outpatient work, everything is patient and client centered when you think about it. So all of your research opportunities are still there if that is something you are interested in. So go to the next one. Okay. We offer over 70 plus different rotation sites at UTMB. After match day, I set up a one-on-one meeting with every student to really talk about what you are interested in the field of dietetics. Some students have no idea what areas of dietetics they're interested in. Other students know that they're very passionate about a particular area, and they know that they are destined to, for example, be a pediatric dietitian or be an oncology dietitian. Like they have their heart set on those particular areas. So when I'm making a rotation schedule for students, I really try to put the student in rotations that they're interested in or I think they would be interested in, and also align them up with preceptors that I know they're gonna gain a lot of experience from and get along with and really have a great time. I've listed 4, and these, we have more, but these are our most popular rotation sites that students often inquire about. Is our rotation with NASA Johnson Space Center, Texas Children's Hospital, Tier Memorial Hermann, that is a brain and spinal cord injury facility, and then the renal and transplant rotations at UTMB. So we have 5 different supervised practice type rotations: clinical, food service, community, selective specialty, and staff relief. I'll go through each of these. So starting with clinical, our supervised practice rotations are all variable in credit, but you need 20 of them to fulfill the degree. But students usually spend about 480 hours in a clinical site. The majority of the students will complete their clinicals at one of the UTMB campuses. However, we do have outside affiliations with local hospitals such as HCA Clear Lake, HCA Southeast, and Oak Bend Medical Center. All students will complete what we call like a general clinical 1 rotation, which is your general inpatient exposure. And then they have the opportunity to do a more specialized clinical rotation, which is kind of we refer to as a clinical 2 rotation. So think more specialized dietetics, whether it's inpatient, outpatient, long-term care. Some of our most popular clinical 2 sites are, I mentioned earlier, organ transplant, Texas Children's, DaVita Dialysis, TIER, Shriners Burn Hospital for Children is right across the street from our campus. We also have PD endocrinology, inborn errors of metabolism, just to name a few of other clinical specialty sites. Community rotations, students usually do about 130 or so hours, give or take, at various community rotations around the Houston-Galveston area. UTMB has WIC clinics that they run, local food banks. We partner with the Galveston County Food Bank and the Houston Food Bank. Galveston actually has, they call their Galveston's own farmers market, and students help run the farmers market. And then when school is in session, they have a young gardeners program for the elementary school students. So they run a community garden. We work with AgriLife Extension offices. The Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, or the OLLI Center, is a community center for older adults. Think kind of like continuing education classes for older adults that our students help with. The UT Health Science Center has a Nourish program. I think it's a culinary medicine program that our students help teach those classes. HEB grocery stores and Harris County Head Start. Food service, students usually rotate in both hospital and school food service. Not only are students exposed to hospital food service mainly at UTMB, but it can be done at Shriners or any of the other outside hospital systems. We do try to get you to do your hospital food service rotation at the same hospital site you do your clinical. It doesn't always happen, but I do like to have that continuity of you being at one place for clinical and the same one for food service. And then we are a very densely populated area, but we have affiliations with all of the local school districts. So I just put 4 of them on here: Houston, Galveston, Dickinson, and Clear Creek. Those are the biggest school districts, but trust me when I say there's a lot more where that came from too. Specialty and selective rotations. Think of this as an elective rotation. So maybe a rotation site that didn't fit in clinical or food service or community or something that was really interested. This is the course that most students will complete a research rotation in. It's not required to do a research rotation, but we do encourage students to at least spend some time with one of the research faculty here on campus, because I find that students really enjoy their time when they work with our research faculty. And then you can go to any other site that may have interested you. So we have NASA, Center for Discovery is an eating disorder clinic, long-term care, HEB, dialysis. We work with several private practice dietitians. So this is just really a kind of a catch-all course, really kind of just to really spark your interest. If there's something that really interested you, but you didn't want to spend a whole lot of time there, that's where your kind of specialty rotation falls under. A little bit about some of our research rotations is the majority of our students do end up completing a research rotation, but depending on what the student is interested in. If the student is interested in writing an abstract or submitting a poster to any type of local conference, they may spend more time at a research rotation than those students who aren't interested in doing that. So our research faculty here in the department, they all have ongoing grants and projects running. So when students complete rotations with them, they are joining with the research faculty onto the project they already have ongoing and are added to the research protocols, and they could help with all various aspects of the actual research going on there. The rotation at NASA Johnson Space Center is also considered a research rotation. You're going to be working with a nutritional biochemist at NASA, and they're doing a lot of research on the data that's coming back from the International Space Station with the astronauts too. Staff relief, pretty self-explanatory. You spend about 2 weeks at any of the previous rotation sites that you were at, and the idea is that you're taking on the job of the dietitian or the preceptor that was there at that site. Usually students don't have any problem going back to any of the sites, but depending on sometimes the availability or scheduling, you may not always get to kind of maybe go back to the one place you're really hoping to. It really just depends with there, but usually preceptors love having all the students back if they can have them. For COVID, I know this is a big hot topic right now. Being an academic medical institution has its perks, because all of our students in the springtime, when everyone had to kind of isolate and quarantine, all of our students were able to remain on site, or if they were at a site that was no longer able to accept them, I was able to put them back onto a supervised practice site, mainly within the UTMB system. We do have leeway with Ascend on different alternative assignments we can do, but I've been able to keep all of my students on site. And if they aren't able to go in person most days, they can work virtually with the preceptors as well. So this is a little bit about our program costs. You can see the cost for both in-state and out-of-state. There might be other fees associated with background checks or fingerprinting. Some sites require additional information from the students, but we would let you know of that ahead of time. I've estimated the cost of living in Galveston to be about $900 if you're going to be living alone. However, most of our students choose to live with another student, whether it be another student in the program or one of the other students on campus. And I will say that students, 50% of them probably choose to live on the island, and the other 50% choose to live off the island on the mainland and kind of be a midway point in between Houston and Galveston. Having a reliable car is important, because here in the South, public transportation is just not really readily available as it is in other parts of the country or the world. So having a reliable car is important. And I do connect all of the students that match the program. I connect them all together soon after match day, so that way students can begin making connections, seeing if somebody needs a roommate, and I also connect them with the outgoing cohort as well. That way you can kind of get the other student's perspective. I can give you my perspective as the director, but it's always nice to get a student's perspective on things. We offer several opportunities to get scholarships. We do offer what's called a Dean Scholarship to one student who is enrolled into the program. And so this is a scholarship that covers 3 of your 4 semesters of tuition and fees. The admissions committee of the program picks the student that will receive this scholarship, and it's based on, we look at GPA, research, work experience, and overall merit. And so the student is notified right after match day if they've been chosen for this scholarship. The university also has a central application for scholarships as well, and this scholarship deadline is usually mid-May, so it's really close to after match day happens for our program. Match day happens on April 5th, and I believe the scholarship window usually closes around May 15th, so it's probably one of the first sets of information I send out to the students who match the program, is to get them to fill out the application. Whether you need a scholarship or not, I can encourage all of the students to apply for it, because there's scholarships ranging from $500 to about $2,000 that are up for grabs. We use DICUS for our program. In addition to the DICUS application, students are required to submit the UTMB School of Health Professions application, which is the application to graduate school. I know some programs you have to be admitted into both graduate school and match the program, but when you match to our program, you are automatically enrolled into graduate school. So one is not contingent on the other. It's kind of, if you match to the program, you're automatically enrolled into graduate school. This last year, we made a change as a university, and we are no longer requiring the GRE scores with our application. We encourage all students that if you have a GPA that's lower than about a 3.3 and you happen to have taken the GRE and did well on it, you could submit your GRE score and it may help your application be more competitive. But if it's high, if your GPA is higher than a 3.3, submitting your GRE scores wouldn't make you any more competitive with the other applicants. So those who may have struggled academically but did well on a GRE could make their application stronger with that. But overall, the GRE scores are not required. We have 20 spots to fill in our program. So we are one of the largest MSDI programs in the state of Texas. So if we don't fill all 20 spots, we will go to second round. Part of our application process is we do interviews with all of the students. So usually we receive about 70 or so applications, and the admissions committee will interview about 40 to 50 applicants. We do a 10 to 15 minute Zoom interview with the applicants, and we ask everybody the same set of questions, so that's fair throughout. And I encourage all students to make sure that you're checking your spam or your junk folders in your email, because that's the most common way that DI directors will get in touch with you to schedule interviews. So traits we are seeking in candidates. Obviously, we want to see, do you have any type of research or nutrition-related work experience, volunteer experience? Our minimum GPA for applying is a 3.0, but usually what we're seeing is on average our candidates have a 3.5 is usually what the average GPA that we are seeing, and that's quite competitive. We also look at letters of reference and a well-written personal statement. We go through all of them. I read every single application. And if you haven't already thought about who is going to be writing your letters of reference, I would encourage you to do that as soon as possible, because you want to make sure that you've picked people that can really speak to who you are as a student and as a future dietetics professional. And a well-written personal statement. I always tell students, don't feel compelled like you have to tell some really impactful story if you don't have one. Make sure your statement is personalized to the program that you're applying for. I've seen some statements come across the application window and they've mentioned the wrong school name or they put the wrong faculty name. So I always encourage students to make sure that you have personalized your statement for the program that you're applying to. This is how we rank our DICUS applications. We've got a scoring system. We put the most weight on your DPD, GPA, personal statement. And then from there, it's related work, volunteer, research experience, letters of recommendation. And then our Zoom interviews with the candidates carry equal weight as your paper application does. So that's a little run through of our program. This is my contact information, so feel free to reach out via email or phone. And I've scheduled some Skype interviews with interested applicants since we're not really doing campus visits right now because of COVID. So if you are interested and want more information, feel free to contact me. And that is all I have right now.
All right, awesome. Before I jump into my questions, I have a couple questions that are a little bit more timely with some of the things that you discussed. Gianna asked, what is the deadline for the other grad school application? Is it the same as the DICUS?
Yes. Okay. If it happened to be submitted later, that would be okay, but we start looking at applications right away. So we want to make sure that you have your application into the graduate program. But I think the biggest thing is that students, I always get the question of, well, how will I know if I'm admitted into graduate school? And it is, if you match the program, you are automatically admitted into the graduate program.
Okay, cool. And so it's not required to speak Spanish, but you do give preference to students who do, just based off of the populations that you see the most?
We do. There is quite a large Spanish-speaking population in the area, and a lot of our rotations deal with Spanish-speaking populations. And so we've given preference to Spanish-speaking, but I probably should change that to any second language. I think is a plus for students to have. But yes, there are students will encounter Spanish-speaking individuals at their rotation sites.
All right, because that's the first that I've seen that. So I think it's very appropriate, though, for that geographic area. So I'm going to jump into the 5 questions that I ask every director that comes on. And for the students that are live, that will give you some time to think of some more questions if you have any. So these 5 questions were put together with the help of the LSU students based off of what they really wanted to know from directors about applying to their program. So the first question is there a particular thing that you just love to see when you're reading a personal statement?
I think making it personalized to the school you are applying to. And what I mean by that is, if you watched this video or if you attended this video live and you were going to apply to our program, mention it in your personal statement. Or if you came to an open house, or if you met myself or one of the other faculty members at a local conference, or it's always nice when students mention that. I don't ever forget when I meet students who seek us out. I have a great memory for that. But when students take that extra time to really personalize their personal statement to the program, or highlighting specific rotations that you find unique about our program that interests you, really taking the time to highlight those things and align yourself with our program. I think that really speaks volumes, because I think it shows that the student has taken the extra step and the extra time to put the thought into their personal statement. Don't be like me and write a generic letter for all the programs that you applied for. Don't be like me.
That's good advice. The second question is a true or false question.
Okay.
So true or false, an applicant's resume should be 1 page and 1 page only, and either way, why?
That is a timely topic, because right now my outgoing cohort, they are drafting up their resumes. We're divided in the department about this. I think it's okay if it's longer than 1 page, but some of my other faculty say no, it should only be 1 page. So I don't have a preference. I usually think as a student, most students only have about 1 page worth of material to put on a resume. However, if they've held lots of jobs or have lots of experience in things, then maybe they go over 2 pages. Can I have an undecided and on the true false question?
Yeah, do you think the other faculty feel that way because it's a time thing? Like, it's just easier for them to look at 1 page real quick as opposed to flipping? Do you think maybe
I've sat in on a lot of interviews, and actually because we're a health science center, a lot of the interviews I've gone on, we don't really see resumes. We see CVs, which tend to be longer. So I think when I was coming right out of school, I had a 1 page resume. I wouldn't count off points if someone's resume was longer than 1 page, but I do think that when employers are taking the time to look at resumes, I think time is a factor. So you want to make sure that you hit all of the points in as short amount of time, a short amount of space as possible.
And so just to follow up on that, because I've had this discussion obviously in all of these, are you expecting everything on the resume to be in DICUS as well so that you can see it there, or are you expecting to not see it? Because I hear from different directors how they don't like to see the resume pieces in DICUS, but then when they see stuff in DICUS that's not on the resume, they get upset. So they kind of contradict themselves. Is it just a safe bet for applicants just to make sure everything's, if it's on the resume, just make sure it's in the other place as well, just in case?
I think it is a safe bet to make sure that everything that is on your resume is in DICUS, just because weird things happen. Sometimes files don't upload, something, you know, they may not be able to view your resume, and there may have been an important piece that had it been in part of the full DICUS application, that might just be their safety net. I don't have a preference. We comb through all of it. So I think the student as a safety net, I probably would say yes, but make sure everything is on your application if it's on your resume.
Okay. So moving on from resumes, is there one thing, or is there anything that an applicant may do that you feel is a red flag and would be a deal breaker for you, where you'd really say, like, I don't think this person is a good fit for our program? And it could be in the application, in an interview, in meeting them and speaking with them, any kind of interaction.
I think there's been a couple of instances where I can tell that a candidate is applying to the program just to apply, and they may not, I'm getting the sense that they're just kind of going through the motions, and we may not really be where they want to be. I've had applicants tell me that we're their second choice, and so that doesn't make us feel great. So you make that face.
I cringe. That's something my students would never do.
I've seen and heard a lot. But I think that if you're going to be applying to the program, you obviously at least sell yourself as you're interested in the program, right? I've also seen red flags come up in letters of reference. The person writing the letter of reference, either they're just blatantly honest and it creates red flags about certain behaviors, whether it be professionalism or overall work ethic, can raise red flags. So that's why I always advise, make sure you sought out good individuals to write your letters of reference for you.
That is good advice. That's the same advice I give them. Just make sure nobody has anything bad to say about you. So it's not that you're strategically choosing your references based off of the situation at hand. It's not that anyone's lying and avoiding saying anything bad, but yeah, there are probably folks in everyone's life that they can avoid with a recommendation letter.
Yes.
All right, moving on. What is one area of the internship program that you're working on trying to make even better for your interns?
So we recently changed our degree plan. And it went into effect this fall semester. So we're kind of in the new of everything. So our old degree plan, students got all of their didactic courses out of the way in the first 2 semesters. And the last 2 semesters, they were purely just on internship rotations. And I never saw them when they were on their last two semesters. I felt like I never saw the students. So something that we've implemented that I think will be best is that every semester there is a course called professional development. It's a 1 credit hour course, and we meet every Monday. And it's my time to meet with the students, just catching up. What's going well at rotations. You can share your experiences with the other students. I had a class very similar to mine in my MSDI program, and I just liked being able to connect with my other cohort members and meet with the DI director once a week just to touch base. And so I think that implementation of this course every semester will better the students' overall experience. That, and I get to see them because I missed seeing them. I missed catching up on things. So otherwise, y'all are off on rotations, and I have no idea what's happening sometimes. So I think the once a week meeting will be nice.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, this last question of mine is a two-parter. And the first part is, what are the 3 best adjectives or descriptors, phrases to describe your program overall?
I think we are innovative. We are unique because we're an academic health science center. And I'm going to go with comprehensive. We cover a lot of areas, and you get the DI and the MS all in the same. So innovative because we do a lot of research here on campus. Unique because we're not a general, just academic. We're a health science center as well. So it's nice. It's different than your typical college campus. So those are my 3.
All right. So the second half of the question is very similar. 3 best adjectives or descriptors to describe your ideal applicant for the program.
Okay. Flexibility. This is a big one, particularly with COVID. Being flexible. Good time management skills. And I would say motivated or self-motivated. I think those are our 2 big things. Those are all hard traits to measure on a paper application for sure. So, but I think being flexible is important. My outgoing cohort, they had their rotation schedules completely just implode on some of them until I had to completely rearrange things because of COVID, but they were all able to stay on rotations. But if you're someone that doesn't do well with change, sometimes things change. So being flexible and patient there. Time management, I find that students can struggle going from an undergraduate situation to a graduate level, particularly doing an internship at the same time because you're juggling essentially 2 programs running simultaneously. You've got your graduate coursework, and then you have all of the work that goes with the internship. So time management, and then self-motivated. You've got to be able to manage all of these tasks. You've got to be able to get it all done. I can't do them for you. So I find that you can't let things snowball out of control. You've got to set yourself a schedule, which I think sometimes has been hard when things have turned a virtual a lot for students and people are working from home. Even adults have struggled with this, just kind of if you don't have that motivation to get up and drive to class or drive to work, you've got to be able to motivate yourself to get up out of bed and walk to your computer and start working from there. So we're all kind of in this weird change. So those are, I think, our 3 traits, all of which are all hard to determine off paper, unfortunately.
Is that what you try to do in the interview process, is kind of hint at those things to see if applicants are kind of giving you an idea of their ability to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I want to ask some follow-up questions. You mentioned the schedule. Are the students in rotations, 32 hours a week? So what does a typical week look like?
Roughly, some rotations vary, but because students are able to rotate all 4 semesters, there's plenty of leeway and extra time. So if we were on the coast, and so being at LSU, hurricanes happen, and so we've kind of built in this extra time that if you happened to needed to take time off for any particular reason, we were normally thinking weather, not global pandemic, but there's time for gaps if needed in the schedule, and particularly so. For example, the farmers market rotation, they are not open Monday and Tuesday. So students rotate Wednesday, Thursday, Friday some, but the market happens on the weekend. So they're rotating mainly on the weekend. So their Tuesday through Friday schedule might look a little different than all the other students. But I think it's important to note that all of the students have completely unique rotations. Not one student will be going to the same place at the same time in the 4 semesters. So everybody gets a different schedule unique to them.
is it possible, or do you shy away from students working while they're in the program? Is it possible just for someone to have a part-time job or to manage that?
I think it is difficult to manage a job. Are students able to pull it off? Yes. I like students to be open and honest with me if they need to work or if they are working, because I find that when they start to slip or their grades start to slip, and I don't know the reasons, then I just start making assumptions. Well, Erin's not doing her work for whatever reason. But if I knew ahead of time that they were working or they had other commitments, then something that we can work around. I do know that students tend to take lots of work study positions here on campus. So some of our students are able to do that because the schedules are a little more flexible. Having more than a part-time job is very difficult. It is very difficult in an MSDI program because things move so fast. We have to cover so much ground in a short amount of time.
Okay. And so for the completion of the master's component, is it that research piece? Are there comprehensive exams? Or is it just, is the research a capstone type project, or do they have to set up like a non-thesis setup?
We are a non-thesis. There is no capstone. So you're getting 24 credit hours from the didactic courses you're taking, and then the other 20 meet the requirements for the DI and the rest of the graduate degree. So right now we don't have comprehensive finals. We do have the students take practice RD exams, and we do want them to score at least an 80% or higher prior to graduation. But there's no thesis component to it.
And do you set them up with one of those professional exam reviews?
We do, right? Yes. Eat Right Prep is what we're using right now.
Okay, awesome. All right, I'm going to open it to the students that are with us this evening. If any of you have questions you want to ask live, you can go ahead and do that.
Do you have a virtual open house, or has it already happened?
I actually have a virtual open house scheduled for, let's look at my calendar, next Friday on the 13th. I have one scheduled for December 4th and one for January 15th. I am currently working on updating our recorded virtual open house video on YouTube. So I hopefully will get that uploaded in the next week or so. But I will also record our open houses we're holding with the school, which will be held virtual, and those dates and registration links can be found on our website.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. How are the students placed within the 4 cities where you're doing your clinical rotations?
So when I meet with the students over the summer, I normally inquire where they plan on living. So if they plan on living in Galveston or plan on living, the midway point is League City, Clear Lake. So that's about 20 miles north of Galveston. It's really not that, it's about a 40-minute drive. I live in the League City area, so I drive to Galveston every day. I normally ask where students are living, and I take that into account so that you're not driving all over the place. Now it depends on what you would maybe interested in. If you're interested in going to Texas Children's, that rotation is in downtown Houston. So you would need to drive into downtown every day. But I do have students that actually live north of downtown Houston and they commute to Galveston every Monday. Then the rest of their rotations are just in the general Houston metro area. So it really just depends. I do take into account where you live.
I have another question. So you mentioned the classes being in person on Monday so you can catch up with everyone, and then the rotations being Tuesday through Friday. So are the remainder of your course hours online?
You'll meet in class all day Monday. So this fall, for example, there are there's 4 didactic courses, one of them being the professionalism course that is with me. And so you'll meet for an hour those are all 2 credit classes. So you'll meet for an hour with each of the other faculty members. You'll meet an hour with me, and then there will be additional work online. So that makes up the hybrid component. So a mix of both in-person and online. And the online instruction looks different for every class. So it could be discussion boards or other group activities that you complete outside of class. It could be virtual recorded lectures, things like that. So it looks different for every course.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Do you have any more questions from the audience today? All right. So I don't have any more questions. So Blair, give us one last kind of take-home message to those that may be interested in applying to the program this year or next year.
We are a 16-month, so 4 semesters, Masters of Science and Dietetic internship with a focus in patient client-centered care. We're a fun bunch. We're a fun bunch, and we're at an academic medical institution, and which I think is a unique experience for students to be able to experience. So we look forward to seeing your applications in the springtime.
All right. Well, thank you, Blair, so much for joining us this evening. This was an awesome experience to learn a little bit more about your program. And for those at home who are watching this, who are interested in the program or getting in touch with Blair to get more information, I've included a link to their program in the description below this video. And as always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you never miss an episode or a spotlight session with a dietetic internship. And we'll see you next time.
Bye. Thank you.